What happens when a Hollywood A-lister who's built her career on saying exactly what she thinks sits across the table from one of daytime TV's most outspoken hosts? Make sure to subscribe to Final Take Files, and like and comment for more talk show coverage. So picture this, it's a packed studio at The View. The audience is already buzzing because they know today's guest isn't one to sugarcoat anything. Charlize Theron walks out to applause, calm, smiling, composed. She hugs the hosts, takes her seat, crosses her legs, and thanks everyone for having her. Joy Behar leans forward almost immediately, smiling but with that familiar sharp tone. "We're very happy you're here," she says. "You've never been shy about speaking your mind." Charlize laughs lightly. "I try not to be. It's gotten me into trouble before." The audience chuckles. Another host jumps in, asking about her latest film, her production company, her advocacy work. Charlize answers thoughtfully, talking about the importance of telling complex stories about women. She's measured, reflective. Joy nods but interrupts mid-sentence. "But you've also been very vocal politically. And some people think actors should just act." There's a slight shift in the room. Not hostile, but sharper. Charlize tilts her head. "Some people always think women should just do the one thing they're known for." Audience, a mix of applause and a few surprised murmurs. Joy raises an eyebrow. "Oh, so now it's a gender thing?" Charlize smiles, "But it's tighter now." "I think it often is." Another host quickly tries to soften it. "Well, I think what Joy is saying is..." Joy cuts in, No, I can speak for myself." The audience reacts with a few ohs. Charlize doesn't look rattled. She folds her hands. "I don't think it's unreasonable for anyone, actor, teacher, mechanic, to have opinions about the world they live in." Joy responds, "Sure, but when you have millions of followers and you say something controversial, it influences people." Charlize nods slowly. "That's true. And that's why I try to be responsible. But staying silent also sends a message." There's applause from parts of the audience. Joy leans back slightly. But sometimes celebrities weigh in on issues they don't fully understand. The temperature rises a notch. Charlize pauses. "Are you saying I don't understand the issues I talk about?" Joy shrugs. "I'm saying, generally, Hollywood can be out of touch with everyday Americans." Some audience members clap. Others remain quiet. Charlize's tone is still even, but firmer now. "I didn't grow up in Hollywood. I grew up in South Africa during apartheid. I've seen what political silence does." The room goes quieter. Joy responds, "And that's powerful. But this is America. Different context." Charlize replies, "Injustice feels pretty similar wherever you go." That gets a bigger reaction, a strong wave of applause. Joy smiles tightly. "Well, not everyone agrees with what you've said recently about certain policies." Charlize nods. "That's democracy." Joy presses, "But when you call certain lawmakers dangerous." Charlize interrupts for the first time. "Because I believe they are." There's a sharp intake of breath from somewhere in the audience. Joy raises her hands. "See, that's the tone I'm talking about." Charlize leans forward now. "Calling out policies that harm people isn't extreme. Pretending they don't is." Another host steps in quickly. "Okay, let's slow this down a little." Nervous laughter from the crowd. Joy shakes her head. "I just think there's a way to have conversations without demonizing people." Charlize responds, "I agree. But I also think there's a difference between demonizing people and criticizing power." The applause grows louder this time. Joy looks toward the audience. "Well, they seem to agree with you." Charlize shrugs. "Or they just like strong opinions." That gets a laugh, even from Joy, though it's brief. One of the co-hosts tries to redirect. "You've also talked about raising your daughters to be outspoken." Charlize softens instantly. "Yes. I want them to know their voices matter." Joy jumps back in. "But would you want them to shout down someone who disagrees?" Charlize answers calmly, "No. I'd want them to listen. But I'd also want them to stand firm when something feels wrong." Joy nods, but presses again. So you don't think there's any responsibility to dial it back? Charlize hesitates, not unsure, but choosing her words. I think women are told to dial it back constantly. Audience applause. Joy responds quickly, "Oh, come on, that's not fair. I've been loud my whole career." Laughter and clapping. Charlize smiles slightly. And I respect that. Joy leans in. But you're framing disagreement as oppression. Charlize shakes her head. No. I'm framing dismissal as a pattern. There's another ripple through the audience. This isn't shouting. It's sharper than that. It's controlled tension. A producer's voice faintly cues something off camera. The hosts glance briefly toward the stage manager. Another co-host tries again to pivot. Let's talk about your activism work on the ground. What are you actually doing beyond social media? Charlize welcomes the shift. We fund programs directly. We work with local leaders. It's not just tweeting. Joy adds, and that's commendable. I just think sometimes rhetoric escalates division. Charlize replies, division already exists. Talking about it doesn't create it. The audience claps again, louder now. Joy sighs slightly, half smiling. You're very good at this. Charlize laughs. At talking. Joy responds, at turning it around. Charlize says quietly, I'm not trying to turn anything. I'm just saying what I believe. There's a brief pause. A silence that feels longer than it is. Joy breaks it. Well, that's why you're here. The audience laughs, tension easing just slightly, but not gone. Charlize leans back now, posture relaxed but eyes still focused. Joy sips her coffee. The atmosphere has shifted. It's no longer a light celebrity interview. It's a debate. And both women know it. The camera pans to the audience, some nodding, some whispering. Joy looks back at Charlize and says, we're not done. The crowd reacts with another collective, oh. And you can feel it. This conversation is only getting started. Joy sets her mug down and leans forward again. Okay, let's really get into this, she says, her tone sharper now. The audience quiets. You said you're done being polite about certain political leaders, Joy continues. What does that mean exactly? Charlize keeps her posture relaxed. It means I'm done pretending harmful policies are just differences of opinion. A few people clap. Others stay silent. Joy nods slowly. But who decides what's harmful? Because from the other side, they think what you say is harmful. Charlize answers without hesitation. Policies that take rights away aren't opinions. They have consequences. Joy jumps in. See, that's the tone. That's what people hear and feel judged. Charlize tilts her head slightly. Criticizing policy isn't judging voters. Joy presses. But when you use words like dangerous, that affects how people see each other. Charlize's voice firms up. I believe some rhetoric is dangerous. I won't soften that to make it more comfortable. The audience reacts, louder applause this time. Joy looks toward the crowd. You see, that's exactly what I mean. It's definitive. It leaves no room. Charlize responds calmly, there's room for debate. There's not room for denying basic rights. A noticeable shift in the room. Some clap hard. A few shake their heads. One of the co-hosts tries to ease the tension. Let's talk about Hollywood for a second. Joy mentioned celebrities being out of touch. Charlize nods. Hollywood can be a bubble. Absolutely. That catches Joy off guard for a second. Oh, so you admit that? Yes, Charlize says. But politics is a bubble too. Media is a bubble. We all operate in spaces that don't represent everyone. The audience murmurs. Joy leans in. But this table talks to everyday Americans. And so do I, Charlize replies. Through the work I do off-camera. In communities. In schools. Not just on red carpets. Applause again. Joy's tone tightens slightly. Still, when you say people are enabling harm. I don't say that, Charlize interrupts, more directly this time. Joy fires back, "You imply it." The interruption creates an audible "oh" from the crowd. Charlize keeps her composure. "I criticize actions. If someone feels personally attacked by that, maybe that says something." The audience reacts loudly, mixed but intense. Joy shakes her head. Or maybe they just feel talked down to. "I'm not talking down to anyone," Charlize says firmly. Joy crosses her arms lightly. "It can come off that way." There's a brief silence. Another host steps in. "Let's take a breath." Nervous laughter. Joy looks back at Charlize. "Do you think people who disagree with you are wrong?" Charlize doesn't dodge it. "On certain issues, yes." The audience reacts again. Joy raises her eyebrows. "So there it is. But I don't think they're evil," Charlize adds quickly. "I think they're mistaken." Joy exhales. "That's still a strong position." Charlize nods. "I'm certain about human rights." That line lands hard. Big applause. Joy doesn't clap. She waits for the noise to settle. "And what about people who believe they're protecting rights too?" "Then we examine whose rights are actually being protected," Charlize responds evenly. The room splits again, applause mixed with scattered disagreement. Joy glances off-camera briefly, then back at Charlize. "We're going to take a quick break," she says, her voice steady but clearly charged. "When we come back, we'll continue this." The audience buzzes as the music kicks in. Charlize sits back, composed but alert. Joy takes a slow sip of her coffee. The cameras fade to commercial, but the tension at that table is still very much alive. The show comes back from commercial, and you can feel the shift immediately. The applause is louder than usual, not just polite clapping, but that curious, tense energy when the audience knows something real is unfolding. Joy looks straight into the camera. "We're back with Charlize Theron." Charlize smiles politely, but her posture is different now, straighter, more guarded. Joy turns to her. "During the break, we were still talking." A few laughs from the audience. Charlize nods. "We were." Joy continues, "And I want to clarify something. I'm not questioning your passion. I'm questioning the effect." Charlize answers calmly, "That's fair." There's a slight easing in the room, but only slightly. Joy leans forward. "Do you think there's a responsibility that comes with being someone people admire? Not just to speak, but to lower the temperature?" Charlize takes a breath before answering. "I think there's a responsibility to be honest. And sometimes honesty raises the temperature." A ripple of applause. Joy responds quickly. "But we're in a moment where the country feels divided. Words matter." "They do," Charlize agrees. "Which is why I choose mine carefully." Joy lifts her eyebrows. "You called certain lawmakers a threat." "Yes," Charlize says evenly. Joy shakes her head slightly. "That's not careful. That's combustible." The audience reacts, some clapping, some murmuring. Charlize doesn't flinch. "If a policy threatens someone's safety or autonomy, what word would you prefer?" There's an audible "MMM" from the crowd. Joy pauses for a second. "I'd prefer persuasion over accusation." Charlize responds, "Persuasion doesn't mean pretending something isn't harmful." Joy cuts in, "But when you escalate language, you make it harder for anyone to come to the table." Charlize leans forward now. People whose rights are on the line don't have the luxury of waiting for comfortable language. The audience erupts again, louder, more divided. One of the co-hosts tries to steady things. "Let's talk about solutions." "Charlize, what does productive engagement look like to you?" Charlize nods. "Listening first. Then speaking clearly about what's at stake." Joy responds immediately, but listening requires believing the other side might have a point. "I do believe that," Charlize says. "On some issues." Joy presses, "But not the ones you feel strongly about." Charlize answers honestly, "No. Not when it comes to basic rights." That word again, rights. The audience reacts instantly. Joy sighs. "See, that's the wall. When you frame it as basic rights, Anyone who disagrees feels accused of being anti-rights. Charlize replies, if someone supports a policy that limits someone else's rights, what should I call that? The room goes very quiet. Joy looks at her for a long moment. You call it disagreement. Charlize shakes her head slightly. That minimizes impact. There's another split reaction from the audience. Joy's tone becomes more pointed. Do you see how absolute that sounds? Charlize meets her eyes. Do you see how minimizing sounds to the people affected? The tension peaks, not yelling, but locked in intensity. One host finally steps in more firmly. Okay, we are clearly in it. Laughter breaks the edge just slightly. Joy leans back in her chair. I've been doing this a long time, she says. And I've seen rhetoric get out of control on both sides. Charlize nods. So have I. Joy continues, and I worry when influential voices dig in. Charlize answers quietly, I worry when influential voices stay neutral. The audience gives a strong reaction to that, applause mixed with a few boos. Joy gestures toward the crowd. You hear that? That's the divide. Charlize glances around. It was here before I got here. That line lands. Big reaction. Joy lets out a short laugh. You're not backing down. Charlize gives a small, steady smile. No. Joy softens slightly. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever changed your mind publicly? Charlize thinks for a second. Yes. The audience quiets. I've evolved on issues, she continues. I've admitted when I was wrong. Joy nods. And did that cost you? Yes, Charlize says plainly. But growth usually does. There's a murmur of approval. Joy looks at her more thoughtfully now. So you believe certainty and growth can exist together? I believe conviction and openness can, Charlize replies. That line shifts the energy a little. It's less combative, more reflective. Joy asks, so is there any room where you'd say, maybe I don't have the full picture? Charlize answers carefully. Of course. I'm not an expert in everything. But I don't speak casually about the things I do address. Joy nods slowly. And if someone feels alienated by the way you speak? Charlize responds, softer now, that's not my goal. My goal is protection, not alienation. The audience reacts, this time more unified applause. Joy watches her closely. But you understand why some viewers at home feel like celebrities lecture them. Charlize gives a small smile. Sometimes celebrities do. The crowd laughs. But sometimes, she continues, people project frustration onto whoever's visible. Joy considers that. That's fair. There's a noticeable pause, the first one that doesn't feel sharp. One of the co-hosts jumps in lightly. This might be the most intense Wednesday we've had in a while. Laughter spreads across the audience. Joy finally smiles more genuinely. I will say this, you don't dodge. Charlize smiles back. Neither do you. The audience applauds that exchange. But Joy isn't done yet. Final question before we wrap this segment. Do you think conversations like this help? Charlize looks at her directly. Yes. Even when they're tense? Joy asks. Especially when they're tense, Charlize replies. The crowd reacts again. Strong applause. Joy nods slowly. Well, I can agree with that. There's a subtle shift. Not agreement on the issues, but agreement on the value of the debate. The cameras pull slightly wider as the applause continues. But even as the moment cools, you can tell, this isn't over. The energy in the room is still charged. And the final stretch of this conversation might be the one everyone remembers most. The applause is still going when Joy looks back at Charlize and says, all right. Before we close, I want to land this in a real place. The audience quiets down again. Joy folds her hands on the table. There are people watching right now who feel exhausted by politics. They don't want celebrities telling them what to think. They don't want politicians yelling at each other. They just want calm. What do you say to them? Charlize nods slowly. I understand that exhaustion. Her tone is noticeably softer now. "I don't wake up wanting to argue with anyone," she continues. "I speak up because I care. Not because I enjoy conflict." The audience listens closely. No clapping this time, just attention. Joy asks, "But do you see how sometimes it becomes conflict anyway?" "Yes," Charlize says honestly. "And I don't love that part." That answer shifts something in the room. Joy studies her for a second. "So what's the balance?" Charlize thinks before answering. "The balance is staying firm without dehumanizing. And I try. I'm not perfect." That earns a warm round of applause. Joy nods. "That's fair." One of the co-hosts jumps in gently. "I think what viewers just saw is two strong women disagreeing without screaming." The audience laughs lightly. Joy smiles. "We didn't flip the table." Charlize laughs too. "Not today." That breaks the last of the tension. But Joy adds one more thing. "I will say this, when you say you're done being polite, it scares some people." Charlize doesn't shy away. "What I'm done with is pretending everything is fine when it's not. I'm not done with kindness." The audience applauds, more unified this time. Joy nods slowly. "That's an important distinction." There's a pause. It feels like a natural ending point. Joy turns slightly toward the camera. "We appreciate you coming on and having the conversation." Charlize smiles. "Thank you for letting me." They shake hands across the table, not dramatically, just simply. But the audience reacts warmly to it. As the segment wraps, you can hear the crowd buzzing, people turning to each other, whispering reactions. Some clearly team Charlize. Some clearly team Joy. Most just energized by what they watched. The cameras pull back, and the show transitions to the next segment. But that's not where it ends. Within minutes of the broadcast, clips start circulating online. Short clips. 10-second sound bites. "I'm certain about human rights." "Silence is complicity." "Intent doesn't erase impact." On social media, it explodes. Some viewers praise Charlize for staying composed and firm. Others say Joy asked the tough questions that needed to be asked. Hashtags start trending. People debate who won. But what stands out most isn't shouting, it's the fact that neither woman backed down, and neither lost control. Later that afternoon, entertainment outlets run headlines about the tense exchange on The View. Panels replay the clip of Charlize Theron saying she's certain about human rights. Commentators analyze Joy Behar's pushback about tone and division. Some frame it as a clash. Others call it healthy debate. Behind the scenes, sources from the studio later say there was no yelling backstage. No dramatic fallout. Charlize reportedly thanked the hosts again before leaving. Joy, according to staff, said she appreciated guests who come ready. That detail surprises a lot of people online. Because what viewers felt wasn't hostility, it was friction. The next day, morning radio shows discuss it. Political commentators reference it. Even other talk shows bring it up as an example of how divided conversations have become. But there's one thing that almost everyone agrees on: it felt real. Not rehearsed. Not staged. Not fake outrage. Just two strong personalities with strong convictions sitting across from each other and refusing to water them down. And that's why the clip keeps circulating. Some viewers comment that Charlize spoke for them, that she articulated frustration they've felt for years. Others say Joy represented their concern about escalating rhetoric and cultural divide. In the comment sections, the debate continues long after the credits rolled. Was Charlize too absolute? Was Joy too defensive? Or was this exactly what daytime television should look like? Messy, honest, and unscripted. What makes moments like this resonate isn't that someone wins. It's that viewers see real disagreement handled face to face. No mute buttons. No edited threads. Just conversation. By the end of the week, the segment becomes one of the most viewed clips from the show that month. Analysts break down body language. Viewers replay the pauses. That quiet moment when neither of them blinked. And maybe that's the real takeaway. They disagreed. They challenged each other. They didn't apologize for their beliefs. But they also didn't walk off stage. They stayed. And sometimes, in today's climate, that alone feels rare. Now we want to hear from you. Did Charlize make her case clearly? Did Joy raise important concerns? Was the tension productive, or just more noise? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to Final Take Files for more real talk show stories.